you want to know why you're my favorite kind of Trump voter?
I'm probably like typical. Go ahead.
Because you're in California, and so your vote's not going to count.
Yeah. I go to the Trump rallies in Beverly Hills. Do you know about them?
No, they sound like an interesting affair. I bet the catering is dog shit because why all the good people they're not going to go there.
Yeah, but you know that California took the House, as you probably know, is Republican because of some of the seats in California.
Mm-hmm.
We took back.
That's cool.
There are a few Republican counties in California. That's not really new.
But David, California is not going to go red.
No, but you know it's gonna. Well, it was red probably last time under Reagan.
Yeah.
And maybe Bush. Yeah.
I don't know.
Senior.
I don't think Bush. Oh, Bush Senior. Did Bush Senior win California? That's a surprise to me. So, anyway, David, go ahead. You're voting for Trump because what?
Well, just generally, or I'm a conservative and Bible believer, constitutionalist. Everything you're against. And
So sorry.
Excuse me. Wait. You don't get to do that. You don't get to say constitutionalist, everything you're against. I've actually shown against Trump voters on this call that I value the Constitution more than them. Would it make you feel better, David, if I literally go downstairs and grab my assault rifle so you can see it? I have a rifle, David, that I don't think you can own in California.
I didn't even know people could own guns in California. I can't. But
right. So you were saying, David, you were saying I'm an anti-constitutionalist when I am living and loving my constitutional rights.
Do you know? I used to be a liberal, like they say. I was a hippie,
I'm not a liberal,
back then, so I'm pretty old.
I'm not a liberal.
Pretty old.
He means liberal in the way that people who don't understand politics use it, which is just generally left-leaning.
David, well, I wouldn't call liberals here even left-leaning, but David, I'm not a liberal.
Okay. I'm sure you've heard that, there's a difference between liberal and leftist.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
That's what he's talking about.
You're more leftist.
Yes. Do you know what the difference is?
Well, leftist is communist.
No.
To me.
Communism is a subset of socialism, right? But David, to you doesn't matter. Just in the same way that you're saying you're a Christian, which should matter? My definition of Christian or your definition when you call yourself a Christian? The fact of the matter is, Christian has a foundational thing that all hopefully Christians would accept, and then that word will mean something more to you, and I will grant you the charity of going, great, that label means this to you, and that is what you are. I am a leftist. I happen to not really be a communist, though I see the appeal. Communism is a subset of socialism. I am a socialist. In fact, I am a small L libertarian socialist. The size of the government I want is actually smaller than the size of the government that the conservatives are hoping for. However, we would make sure that labor is not abused, that people get a piece of the things that they are making, that the risk that workers are taking by working for a company is actually appreciated and adopted, that there would be a maximum wage compared to a minimum wage where you don't get to make billions of dollars while other people under you are living off of government subsidies. You could literally afford to pay your workers enough for them to live, and instead you're making me, a taxpayer, pay for your people to live. And I would make sure everybody has health care because that actually pays for itself. If you have a bigger workforce of healthy people, that workforce pays more taxes because they are working higher value jobs and just generally working more. And I would invest in education because it returns for the exact same, which you can look at every developed nation in the country, in the world. Pretty much all of them but us have figured that out, which is why even conservatives in places like England support universal health care, access to post high school education, whatever that word is for that, elementary education, post-secondary education, and workers' rights, even at some minimums, even though they're not all great to labor. So that's why I'm a socialist, because I want more freedom and less government than you conservatives do.
I could almost vote for you, but I tell you what, let me pick a really good item that we can dispute about. Okay. Since I'm in Southern California, let's talk about immigration. Okay.
Great.
Okay. And of course, illegal. I know immigrants who come here to work. Okay, and they're
Right.
hardworking. That pay into the system. And I know the immigrants. I don't want them to wait 10 or 20 years to become a citizen. But I also know some who have mothers that come up from Guadalajara, or grandmothers, to towns in Texas, so they can get a check every month, while veterans, as you know, are starving.
Great. What
to
check?
death on the
What
streets.
check every month does a mother from Guadalajara get? What program extends that to her in
Well,
Texas?
come on, you know.
No, David,
If they get
David.
1,500 or 2,000,
No, David.
500 a month, they do get it.
No, they don't. I'm sitting here telling
they
you
do.
that has been debunked time after time. That is a Trump talking point.
No, it hasn't.
No, they do not. Great.
I-
Okay, great, David.
Yeah.
Great, David. Great. You're saying it hasn't. Excellent. Hang on, David. Hang on. David, I'm going to do this job with you. I'm going to work
Okay.
for you here.
Okay.
David, I think it's great that you're telling me I'm wrong. And I'm so excited because social programs are always attached to policies. Which policy, name the bill either out of the federal government or Texas, that extends $1,500 to $2,000 a month to non-working immigrants in the United States? Please give me the name of the policy. I know you must know because you're telling me definitively it exists, and I'm wrong when I say it doesn't. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm an Ann Coulter Republican. I like when she comes upon Trump for not enforcing that.
Great,
That's
David.
not
David, could
an
you
answer
answer
to
my
the
question?
question, yeah.
David, if you'd answer my question.
It's in her book. Look, you obviously know politics a lot more than most people, and
Yep.
the bills and all that.
Right, can you answer my
But
question, though?
I'm telling you, it goes on. And if it goes on one time, and it goes on
Great.
hundreds or tens
Great.
of
Hang
thousands.
on,
The main thing that-
David.
Yeah.
I am agreeing with you that it happens as soon as you give me the proof it happens.
Well, I don't know the man's name and where he gets his letters or where he gets his new grandmother, but he was bragging about it. Many of them have bragged. Well, why? You know that it's an
Many.
issue, right?
If there's many, David, if there's many bragging about it, this should be really easy for you.
Okay, I'm telling you, you know that it is a policy issue, has been brought up many times.
I don't know that.
Not just by Trump, but by
All right, David, let's try this. What kind of immigrant are you saying? Because I've actually gone ahead and pulled up every policy you could be referring to. So I'd love to know, are you saying illegal immigrants, people who are here undocumented, are getting it?
Right.
Okay, just so you know, David, David, just so you know,
Undocumented.
David, it is a complete and total lie. Undocumented immigrants literally do not qualify
I
for.
wish it was a lie.
David, if it wasn't a lie, you'd be able to prove it. And this is what we described earlier, David. When I talk to people like you and you make a claim with total confidence, that confidence warrants evidence. In the same way that if I make a claim to you, I must come with the evidence as well. Undocumented immigrants do not qualify for any government assistance. The closest you have to that is not undocumented immigrants, but temporary assistance for up to, but limited to 8 months and nowhere near $1,500. It is up to a few $100s per month of the Refugee Cash Assistance Program. And even Republicans agree we should support refugees. It is a total legal program. They are not undocumented. You have to be a documented immigrant to get any kind of program, and even then it is very hard. Undocumented immigrants do not get any federal benefits. They do not qualify for welfare. They don't qualify for SNAP, and they do not qualify for Social Security benefits, even though undocumented immigrants who are here working are often working under the Social Security number of either a deceased person or an unworking person so that they can still get paid. And guess what they do? Under that Social Security number, which, yes, they're going to go, well, they got that illegally. Obviously, they did. They are still paying taxes and Social Security and Medicare and receiving none of those benefits back, which means if you got rid of every undocumented immigrant, instead of losing or instead of gaining money because suddenly we could stop these $2,000 a month payments, you would actually lose money in the system because they would no longer be working under a Social Security number, which doesn't then return them the benefits. I believe, David, that we should have a simple vetting program. If you are not associated with a radical terrorist organization and you are not a felon from another country It should be so easy for you to come to this country. We should have an Ellis Island style policy because that's some of the most impressive shit America ever did. But now that the people who are coming to this country are a little darker in complexion, suddenly we don't want to open up to them. But you've even acknowledged you see the benefits of these people, but that you think that somehow an undocumented immigrant is getting $2,000 a month, despite the fact that you cannot name the policy or cite any proof.
Okay, I also know that since am living in Southern California, that a lot of the let's say Mexicans used to come up for the day back in the late 70s and early 80s, and then work and then go back to Mexico. Now you know that there's a lot more immigrant population now in California,
Mm-hmm.
and since I think the middle 80s or early 90s. There was a law. Something happened that anyway. There has been more of an influx of the Mexican population.
Good.
Agreed with that in California.
I hope so. Hell yeah. Good.
Okay. Now look, do you like the movies?
Don't know where you don't need to ask me weird abstract questions. You can just make whatever point you're looking for.
Okay, if you go to watch The Godfather 2,
Great.
At the beginning it showed what Ellis Island was like. They would question you,
Yep.
check you out for medical reasons,
Sure.
see if you had a disease,
Yep.
what are you here for?
Yep.
If we would go back to that, what you just sort of said,
Yep.
sure, for every single one,
Hell yeah.
if they're at 10 million, 30 million, whatever people, if they would, because, my grandfather came here from another country, right?
Great.
100 years ago.
Great. So just so you know,
120 years.
you're saying you advocate for what you're saying, right? This is the side you're on?
Yeah.
Okay, David, just so you know, David,
to be checked
do you
in
know what,
whenever they come
David,
into the
hang on.
country.
Do you know what position that actually is associated with? Do you know what that's called?
No.
That's literally the open borders policy. The thing Donald Trump is always crying about because people don't understand what it is. And this is what I find so funny. Whenever I talk to conservatives like you and David, I'm glad you've at least been honest. When I lay out what my vision is for America, you literally said, damn, I could probably vote for you because it actually appeals to how you think the country should be ran. And it turns out, David, you would prefer an open borders immigration policy because that's literally the policy you just described. Open borders does not mean vetting. It means we recognize the value of immigrants, we welcome immigrants, and we make the experience of immigrants as good as we can while the citizens who are already here are also getting all of those benefits. And we recognize that labor builds this country. And so attracting high-skilled people, laborers, everybody, which, by the way, labor is a high-skill thing. That's another dog whistle that he likes to. I love that they're like, we want these. I don't want a low-skilled immigrant. All they can do is build an amazing deck and hot tub and gazebo, beautiful piece of wood and artwork that I can't fucking do, and I'm too fucking lazy to do. Those low-skilled workers. We can attract labor. We can attract high education jobs. We can bring all of these people together because labor builds countries, and labor is what we should value above all. David, you don't even know that you're a socialist. You just know you hate what you hear people are telling you to hate.
Okay. When I said that I was like an Ann Coulter Republican, what have you got against her?
She's a fascist. She's an overtly racist fascist piece of shit who wants to, she wants for example, in the difference between us, she wants totally closed borders. She wants to shut down the American healthcare system. She wants to live in a somewhat Thatcherian, okay, well, listen, we can either take people at their word for what they say represents their values or not. If you want to say you think she's lying and she's secretly a socialist, but the fact of the matter is she wants a world that benefits her Aryan ass and not everybody else. And she likes the idea of this sort of very You know what I don't support? Social Darwinism. And yet so many Ayn Rand assholes like her think that we should just basically create a system in which we're going to rely on the charity of rich people. And if you're born into wealth, you will die with wealth. And if you're born into poverty, you will die with poverty. She clearly finds poor people detestable and thinks that they are a bit of a disease. I find her to be a repulsive person. And while I hope everybody has a long and healthy life and that her life is reformed, I look forward to the day that enough years have passed that I get to live in a world that Ann Coulter is not a part of.
Well, it's funny that you put down Ayn Rand because you sound a little bit like a libertarian.
I told you I am a small L libertarian socialist. Ayn Rand is a libertarian economically. I am not.
Oh, okay. See, yeah, okay, I'll admit that. I don't get it. Not get a little over my head, but.
I think it is because so far, every time I've told you my positions, you've said you actually like my position more. I'm telling you, sir, David, you don't even know yet that you're a socialist. You've just heard that term bastardized your whole life.
No, I don't. I don't disagree with a lot of socialist things. Look, there's something called, Medicare and Social Security, which conservatives want, obviously, and we have to,
conservatives have literally tried to get rid of it multiple times.
Roads and have schools. I'll tell you what. I am for schools, for colleges being.
Hey, you're for schools. You love schools. Did you know that one of Donald Trump's policies? Hey, David, you love schools. Did you know one of Donald Trump's policies that he wants to do is eliminate the Department of Education?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they say that. I don't think that they really do.
David, oh my God.
That pisses me off. That pisses me off. You would rather just claim that they're lying and that they actually believe the thing you secretly want them to believe rather than vote for the politician who advocates. No, shut the fuck up. Rather than advocate for the politician who actually supports the things that you support. That is the most ass backwards way of thinking and voting I can imagine. And it actually makes me think less of you as a person. Also, Jimmy, check our messages.
Okay, when he says he wants to do with the Department of Education, I mean that's almost a real thing most right-wing politicians have been saying. Like I said, for 30, 40 years, they're really not going to do it.
I'm so glad you want to speculate and just assume that they're not going to do that. You know what? When
they literally have the support to do it this time, by the way.
When Donald Trump was running the first time, you know what everyone said? Well, I know he says he wants to get rid of Roe, but he can't do that. It's been established precedent for decades. There's no way he can do it. So you really shouldn't be worried about that because that's not going to happen. And then he fucking did it. So David, I don't give a shit what you think he won't do. Because Donald Trump stands behind his words.
Okay, but I am pro-life. You know what that means?
Do you think we don't know what that means?
How pregnancy works. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound like
you don't write bodily autonomy, which also makes you I'm sorry. I have to talk to you in a week.
David, we're going to go through this. We're going to go through this very quickly because I don't know if you know what it means. Do you know that yesterday they executed a person who's not only had always denied his guilt and maintained his innocence, but the actual prosecutor in the case who got the guilty conviction also asked for a stay of execution because the prosecutor doubted his guilt. Do you think that the death penalty should be abolished?
Where did they execute him? What state?
I think it might have been Alabama, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think I don't know about that case. I mean, am I for the death penalty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not pro-life. You are pro-forcing people to give birth to babies, whether or not they want them or not, right?
Okay, when an egg and a zygote meet,
eggs don't meet with zygotes. Eggs don't meet with zygotes.
I mean, egg and a sperm,
right?
A sperm form a zygote that eventually becomes a human being.
Great.
In the woman's womb, correct?
Not always, but they have the potential. A zygote has the potential to develop into a fetus, which has the potential. Well, zygote, embryo, fetus, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying you want you want the woman to do away with potentially a human life.
Yes, because every sperm and every egg is potentially a human life. But David, more importantly than that, no person has the right to live at the cost of your body. David, if I have a kidney disease, can the government force you to let me use your kidneys to filter my blood and hook you up to me to keep me alive?
No.
Great. So no human has the right to live off of another human's body, period. That is what bodily autonomy is about. You do not get to say that, even if you think it's a human being, that human being still doesn't have the right.
Your mother?
Correct. You do not have the right to live off of your mother. Your mother can either abort you. That should be an option. And once you are born, the mother has the right to put you up for adoption. You literally do not have to keep a child that you don't want to have, and you shouldn't have to remain pregnant if you don't want to.
I've never heard it put like that before. I'll have to think about it.
Then you need to, like every other thing so far, you need to start researching what the foundations of your beliefs are and what the opposition are, because I shouldn't be blowing your mind 9 times in a call.
No, but I didn't think that you do have some conservative views, and I thought you were totally,
Not at all.
I don't have a single conservative view.
Conservative.
Well, if you want to obey, if you're for law and order, then you're a conservative, and you seem to be for that.
No, fuck you, David. You don't just get to own law and order. What the fuck is that?
David, do you think that the liberals, I'm not one, you think that Kamala Harris isn't for law and order, that she just wants people to break the laws?
That she is.
Great.
She was just an attorney general for 3 years because she made law and order.
None of the Democratic Party is for law and order. Not a single member of the Democrats.
David, I don't know whether or not to just move on, because you've already made dumb claim after dumb claim, and I've already owned you up and down this basketball court. But what you are saying is ridiculous. The idea that any politician doesn't want law and order is undermined by the fact that you will assume, maybe you only think it's true of the Democrats, but that these are greedy people who are addicted to power, which is true of almost every party, most of the people in all of them. Very few Bernie Sanders exist. And Bernie Sanders isn't for no law and order. Bernie Sanders has multiple homes. You've got to, what is all the noise on your side? Jesus Christ. I can't even get a noise gate to keep you quiet because you're breathing directly in the phone. I don't know what the fuck's going on, man.
No. Sorry. I
Great.
turned on the thing. Go ahead.
It's
I can hear you.
also so ironic to pretend that Democrats are against law and order when your fucking dear leader
is
the fictional dear leader who you create in your head because you apparently don't believe anything that Donald Trump actually says about himself. You just make up what you want him to be. He got the Supreme Court to make it where he can't be legally prosecuted for things that he does while in office.
And he's a felon.
Your party is literally disassembling law and order. The irony, you are steeped in it, and you don't even know. David, shut the fuck up. David,
yes.
I'm muting you.
Yes, I do. And I know the charges he's been indicted on.
Fundamentally dishonest piece of shit.
Yeah. Not only do I know his charges that he was charged with, and I know the supporting evidence, and that it is very apparent he actually did do the things. I also am aware that he has been indicted on multiple things. And while he must be treated as innocent until proven guilty by the court of law, that is not true of the court of public opinion. I saw him with everybody else commit the crimes on January 6th on TV. I'm aware and have the evidence to make the conclusion that he is guilty. Now, if presented with much better evidence, which it would have to be some fucking crazy ass evidence that is wrong, I will change my opinion. And that's the good thing about the court of public opinion. It doesn't rely on, it isn't what will actually make a person guilty or not. The dude is fucking guilty as fuck and brags about wanting to be dictator for a day. The man is a felon and brags about how he basically doesn't have checked power and his whole thing. Hang on. David, here's a question. Why would somebody want total immunity if they didn't plan on breaking laws?
No, I don't agree with this immunity thing that got passed.
Great, well, that was him, and he was the one saying he needed it.
David, I'm going to strangle you. You're the most infuriating person.
Metaphorically. She's got metaphorically.
How the fuck can you say, I don't agree with that? You, again, the person that you want to be elected, the Donald Trump, you have your, no, shut up, David. Stop interrupting me every time I fucking talk.
At least he recognizes you're a woman because he's willing to talk over you.
Yeah, no, it's just insane. The person you want to vote for is not who Donald Trump is. The only way that you have maintained this fucking mind castle that you have around Donald Trump is by completely fictionalizing the cult leader that you worship. You are the most fundamentally dishonest person I've ever spoken to, and I think you are like so contemptible. It is actually appalling.
We do need way less laws.
To bring it full circle, because we've been on this call for a long time, I want to echo Jimmy's sentiments at the beginning of the call to thank the God that you believe in. You are a voter in California, because the fact that you get a vote and you have about the education on politics that my 11-year-old brother does is the biggest disservice.
You know how I feel about homosexuals?
Don't care.
I
cutting you
don't
off.
care how you feel about homosexuals.
I literally cut him off. I dropped it there. I was like, I don't give a fuck what you think about homosexuals. At this point, though, with all the things he was wrong about, I feel like we would start with him saying, I'm not fond of him, and then he would end on realizing he's a homosexual.
And like a subscriber, Jimmy will have to go on a polyamorous dating show to win some prize money.
Wait, I want to do that. So also hit like and subscribe, and then go to patreon.com/calltheline. I was trying to make you laugh and ruin the take. That's why that silly face earlier. If I was on a polyamorous dating show, I would just choose everybody. Except Frederick. Leave a comment.